Oh, hey, everybody there. Welcome to Behind the Pulpit for December the 16th, right? 16th, 2024. We are halfway through December, and we've been doing this all year. It's about time to wrap it up. We're closing in. We are now what? We are, 9 days from Christmas. Is that right? 9 days from Christmas, counting down. I am joined by my esteemed colleague over here who's wearing a, is that a salmon shirt you're wearing?
First of all, we've been doing other things this year besides this podcast. We've been here all year. We do other work, you know. I think that's a good...
Well, I thought pastors only work 1 day a week, right?
That's true. Yeah. I guess salmon is my my color. Yeah. Today. You like it?
It's a delicious shirt right there. Filled with omega-3 fatty acids. Well, hey, we're so glad you're here this morning. Hey, Pastor Dave, I thought we'd do a new little opening here and kind of recap the weekend because I had a busy one. What did you do this weekend? Did you do anything exciting?
Okay. This weekend, it wasn't like that eventful. So everybody in my family's in school. So this week was like finishing up their finals, kids coming in town from getting done with college, getting the house ready. We had an event at church for City Relief.
City Relief packing party. We'll recap that in a second.
And that was a lot of fun to pack up some stuff. I was still getting my sermon ready over the weekend for Sunday and doing a little pastoral care stuff. So it was pretty good.
That's quite
Julie and I got a chance to go out to eat on Friday night.
Oh, good for you.
There's a local restaurant in Flemington called Brunello. And
Brunello. What do they make?
Well,
is it Italian?
It's mostly Italian. I did the rigatoni with the bolognese with the 3 different kinds of meat, like the pork and the beef and the there was another kind of meat there, but I think it was maybe chicken. But it was good. Yeah.
Okay.
So
right.
Good weekend. How about you, man?
Filled. Yeah.
How was your weekend?
This weekend? But we'll come back to the City Relief party. But this weekend was my wife's 40th birthday, so we did a big old celebration. We surprised her on Thursday night. Her sister, her brother, they popped in. She didn't know they were coming, so she was very surprised.
How did you pull this off? You hid all this stuff from her successfully? She had no clue?
No clue.
How did you do it, man? That must have been a lot of secret ops.
I didn't tell anybody. So there was a few secret ops. There was a few moments that were a little dicey, a little hairy, but we managed to get through them, and she did not know.
Wow.
I asked them earlier in the year.
That's a lot of coordination.
It was in secrecy. But I asked them earlier in the year to make sure we had the time if they could do it, and we kind of purchased the tickets.
So wait a minute. Her sister was supposed to do a missionary interview at church.
No, she did the missionary interview because she was coming here.
Right.
Yeah.
But Amanda didn't know that she was scheduled for the missionary interview? Amanda was literally on the worship team.
So what? Okay, so that was the hairy part here at the end.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, because sometimes she'll ask me, what are the weeks you're preaching? Because the weeks I'm not preaching, she lets John know, oh, I can sing this week. And she doesn't always get scheduled, but this week she happened to get scheduled and didn't tell me, because she was probably going to tell me like the night before or whatever. And I realized Rachel had called her up, and she said, oh, you're like the featured missionary. And Rachel made up the excuse and said, well, we're actually going to do a video interview from overseas. And we've done that before, so it was believable.
Rachel.
But thankfully, she kind of thought on her feet. Otherwise, that would have been a big. She would have found out. But she wouldn't have known about Nate, her brother.
No.
Yeah, no reason to know about that. So, and they came in at different times. So Rachel came in 2 hours earlier, and I got her, brought her back, so she was surprised. And then Nate came like an hour and a half later, and she was surprised again. So that was fun.
Wow.
So it was good. I think she felt very, very special for the weekend. We had a couple activities.
How does she do with surprises? Is she able to process all that pretty quick?
She likes surprises. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, she appreciated it. And then we had activities planned Friday and Saturday that were also surprises. I didn't let her. It was kind of like finding out as you go. So we did hibachi on Friday night. Which have you ever done hibachi? I've never done this before. Mm-hmm. You go and they come and they cook in front of you, and the fire comes up, and then they throw the food on your plate. It's like a big show while they're cooking.
Did you catch it with your mouth?
I tried. I didn't. Yeah, you need talent.
Which one did you go to, in Somerville? Or?
The one in Somerville, Utaka in Somerville. They were good.
Do the little heart thing where they have the heartbeat pumping on the grill there.
Pump. Yeah, it was fun. And then we went down to the escape room they have down there. Have you ever done an escape room?
I think the answer is no. We had like an escape room kit that was like a home board game that we did in our house.
Oh, okay.
That
No,
doesn't
this,
really count.
you go.
Oh, wait.
And they give you a puzzle.
No, I think I have done an escape room.
And it's you have to keep finding clues to advance in the scenario that you're in. So we did the dragon castle room, and we were knights, and we had to go find 3 different dragon eggs in order to help the princess from getting overthrown by the evildoers.
Right.
And it was hard. I was surprised. I had never done it before. I was surprised how hard it was. They told us we got 85% done, but we couldn't get through.
It's hard.
It was not easy.
Yeah, there must have been one of my kids' birthday parties or something at an escape room. Now I remember we did do one. I don't think we completed it either.
Yeah. So and then Saturday we did dinner again, and then we also did the Stumpy's Hatchet House. We did the axe throwing.
Oh my goodness!
And that was also not easy. I was not good at that. You know who is really good at it is Art Gall, Christy's husband. Man, he broke one of the boards, and they let him bring one of the boards home from the Target.
All right.
So if you ever need somebody to throw an axe, Art Gall is your man.
I'll take Art on my team, please.
It's a kind of like a bowling experience. You know, 2 of you go up, you kind of throw to see if somebody can get it in there, and then you kind of rotate around. So there was about 8 of us that did that. And,
fun weekend.
New experience. Yeah, it was good. It was really fun weekend. So that's what was going on. And then the City Relief Packing Party. So that was Saturday morning. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that just for a minute. So that was really exciting. We had a lot of people show up.
The goal was 200 kits.
We started with 200 kits. We got 600 kits, and people donated money later on, so we probably could have actually done more. So we're going to have to do it again, so we continue to fill out the kits. But all those were donated to City Relief. They're going to be passed out in the New York City metro area to the homeless, and people were pumped. What was your experience? How many bags did you pack?
Probably 5. So I went through once and just did 1 bag, but then I tried to double the second time and the third time. So it was good. I was moving. It was fun.
All right.
But what was cool about it is that there was fellowship as well as sort of, making a positive difference. You can kind of talk to people in the line and catch up with friends, and it was a wonderful event. So may the Lord use those efforts in a great way. So thank you guys so much for volunteering.
We'll do it again. We heard some positive reports from that event, and then we're going to continue to partner with City Relief. If you want to go out and serve with them, you can go to their website and sign up, and then we're going to see about starting to organize teams from the church again. And then we're also going to help them relaunch their Newark location in next year. So lots of exciting things going on with City Relief and the Millington Partnership. All right, so that was kind of the weekend. How about we move into our In the News segment? Are we okay with that? In the News?
Do it.
In the News. All right, Pastor Dave, so many things in the news. I did just see that there was a school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin at the Abundant Life Christian School. So literally, as we're recording, just came across my feed, so that I think literally just happened. And wow, I mean, it's amazing to me these things continue to happen, but there continues to be these shootings and people that want to particularly attack schools because of some grievance they have with whoever. I don't know what the case is in this situation, but this is always a huge tragedy. I think there was some people at least that were injured. We'll get more updates, I guess, as the time goes on here, but yeah, that was. I remember back. I don't know where you were, but back when I was in high school, I was a junior in high school when Columbine happened, and that was one of the first school shootings that was really made national news. Because there really wasn't that much before that, and for some reason after that, these things have picked up. I don't know if that means there's copycat people or what, but it is a huge tragedy and definitely gives you pause every time you hear one of those things happening.
Yeah, it's really devastating. I'm sorry to hear about that. I didn't hear that until you just mentioned it.
So just happened.
Certainly be praying for those involved in that situation.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that's been in the news, Pastor Dave, that seems to be the thing that everybody wants to talk about is the drone sightings, which have not stopped in New Jersey. Are they still flying over your house?
Every night.
Every night.
As soon as it gets dark, you can look up at any given time, and there's a drone zigzagging here or there or everywhere.
Well, it certainly seems like there's more questions than answers. So the White House and the DA, they keep coming out and making statements that don't make sense in terms of, oh, well, we don't know what they are, but they're not a threat. Well, if you don't know what they are, then how can you say that? And why do they only come out at night? Like, why are they nocturnal? Why don't you see them during the day? What exactly are they doing? And then I saw President Trump just before said, well, no, the government knows. They just don't want to say. And he says they should say. So it's a lot of questions to keep coming up with these things. And there's a whole, because nobody's making definitive statements, there's a whole proliferation of theories that are out there if you start to go down the rabbit hole on the internet. So it's bizarre, concerning. I see them last Thursday night between 5 and 8. They were quite active over the church, I will tell you. I was out in the parking lot about to go get my sister from the airport and was talking with somebody, and I had a bunch that were flying over my head. I said, wow, okay. I had noticed a few before that I thought could be drones, could be planes, but this was like, no, these are drones. So, and then as I got closer to the airport, they started to dissipate, and then by the time I came back, they were sort of sparse. But they were quite active around that time
every night, and they're big. And tried to take pictures and videos. They never come out good. They're always slightly blurry, but they're up there and they're zigzagging across mostly New Jersey, but also other places. Virginia.
I said they're up. Massachusetts has sightings. Connecticut. So they're like
over LaGuardia.
They're spreading. I saw some people say there's some in California too, like they're out west. So it's which raises again more questions. It's not just here.
Yeah, so...
Although apparently we were the epicenter.
What's interesting this week is a lot of politicians are starting to weigh in. So there's some congressional representatives that are making statements about...
Making strong statements. Like, we're not requesting, we're demanding now, that type of stuff.
Right. And then also making statements about certainly this is XYZ cause, either an international cause or this is an adversary, and then we have other politicians saying, no, they know who they are, and the government's behind this, and we should just know what's going on. What's concerning is it's happening, and everybody knows it's happening, and the government knows what's going on, but they won't tell us, which raises the anxiety of the population, because they must think us not knowing would create less anxiety than us knowing, which creates anxiety.
Right, it's like the cycle that keeps going on here.
So maybe by the next Behind the Pulpit, we'll have an answer here, but the mysteries continue.
We will certainly see if that is the case. What's interesting, and you were mentioning to me before, if you look at our walk-up video for our Revelation series, Eric, the guy who did that, actually put in drones, I think, at one point in the video, and we're coming to the end of the series, which seems to be kind of weird. I was like prophetic that we would end with a drone crisis all around us. So like Revelation, and here you go. Here's some drones at the end, unknown drones of origin. So it's kind of crazy. But I think we
were thinking about the locusts, and he was, playing around with that image, thinking this is some modern day rendition of these. But
so
did he know?
Are these the demonic locusts? Maybe. Well, we're going to find out, I guess.
It came out of the pit.
Well, that's the case. Maybe there is a pit. Well, we're going to see. We're going to see.
The drone pit.
The drone pit. So I think, though, the message of Revelation, of course, is that Jesus is sovereign. He's on his throne. And even in the midst of this crisis with anxieties raising, I think this is a time where we should be looking to the Lord for help and for trust. And who knows what's around the corner. But like I was thinking, no matter what, even if it is something terrible, that is a moment to trust that God is going to be with us and to cling to Him. So I have no knowledge of what's going to happen or what's going on, but I think that is the message of Revelation no matter what. Would you add to that?
It's good. It's good application.
Yeah. All right. So that's in the news. I think we'll leave that there, and we can move on to did we have a chart sighting this week?
I did.
You were sending us some
Noah,
things.
A chart. I don't know if you're able to pull up your email software, but there is this tier chart that Tim was creating last week.
Tim was very excited about the tiers.
There's a
different
version
tiers
of the tier chart that I found that's more like concentric circles, and it has levels of importance in terms of doctrine. So just imagine in the center of the circle, you have like that which is most important of the Christian faith. And then you sort of need to believe this to be saved. And then outside of that, you have basic Christian orthodoxy. Then the third circle is like traditional orthodoxy. Then you have denominational orthodoxy. Then things are important but not essential. Then you have things that are not important. And then on the outer rim, you have pure speculation. And so I thought that was a helpful way to sort of create categories of doctrines. And let's remember what we're talking about when we're having debates, right? If we're talking about Christ and the gospel and the way of salvation, boy, we're in the center of that circle. If we're talking about the future of our pets in heaven, boy, we're like way on the outer rim of that circle, right? So when we're arguing, I think the temperature should align and be proportional to what we're talking about. So helpful chart. I don't
would the drone
locusts,
that, but would the drone locusts be pure speculation? Or would they fall here?
I guess so. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, there you go. So
that's the
hopefully
chart
Tim will insert that chart for us, and you can see that it was a wonderful chart and quite helpful. And you can put it on your refrigerator and be thinking about it whenever you're having conversations with your family. It's pure speculation. All right, how about the book war, man? I see you got a book over there. Let's throw our entries in this week and see what happens.
I do.
I guess we're trying to convince Noah because Tim is on an important assignment this week, so he's not here.
It's 4-3. I'm winning. And I'm on a roll. I've won the last few weeks in a row. So we'll see how things go today. I don't know. But I brought a prop. So this is...
You're not giving away free books again, are you? Because last week you bribed him.
No free books, but I do have a prop. So you'll notice this is my signed Tom Landry football that I got when I was a kid. Tom Landry is the former coach of America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, also known as the Man in the Hat. Check that out, man. That's pretty cool memorabilia.
That is pretty cool. Yeah. My dad really liked Tom Landry.
Tom Landry, of course, was a Christian and a coach of the Dallas Cowboys from the 60s and 70s. And I wanted to recommend, if you guys like biographies, this is something different, right? This is not like a theology book, or spiritual life book, or devotional, or really even anything that we normally talk about. But if you like biographies, I thought this was pretty raw, pretty real, pretty good. I enjoyed reading his life story. He was obviously a wonderful coach, a Christian man, but it also goes through his difficult years. He was a football player. He was with the Giants, and the disappointments that he had in his life. The book is also signed. So
look at you. Look at you. Don't lose that.
I'm like really...
You're not giving that one away.
Deep diving into Tom Landry here. And he was one of those people that found out what he was good at. He knew his gift, and he just did it. And so he was so into coaching that he would just be called Coach.
Right,
like
right.
One of those people that you find your career, and like that's... You become the personification of the career, right? Like, so, Coach. That was Landry. One of the cool things about coaching that he said was, his mantra was, in terms of discipline, he would say... My whole goal is to get my players to do something they don't want to do to achieve what they want to achieve. So, like, that's what coaching is. It's motivating you to do what you really don't want to do in order to achieve what you really want to achieve. So he tells his story in his autobiography, and I thought that was a really good read. When I lived in Dallas, we used to work out at the Tom Landry Fitness Center, so I got kind of interested in his life, and he interacted with some big names. He had two assistant coaches that you're probably familiar with if you're from my generation, Dan Reeves and Mike Ditka. They were both his assistant coaches.
Ditka.
Yeah.
Mike Ditka.
So he knew them before they were such a big deal, and a lot of good humor in here, a lot of good ethics in here, and just his story about living out his Christian life on the football field. So there's my recommendation for today. Something a little different.
All right. Well, Noah's guessing.
What do you got?
So I feel like, again, I'm at a disadvantage since he played football and he likes sports. But I'll just throw this out there for the sake of throwing it out there. So, we have our Contend Conference coming up. By the way, sign up before December 31st if you want the early bird rate. Elisa Childers is our main speaker, and she's going to be talking about, progressive Christianity one night, and then the other night she's going to be talking about cultural messages, and she has written a book called Live Your Truth, and Other Lies, Exposing Popular Deceptions That Make Us Anxious, Exhausted, and Self-Obsessed. So this kind of walks through some of the slogans that are out there in the culture, such as Live Your Truth, and breaks them down from her experience and her own story. Now, I did want to read that it was endorsed by my old apologetics professor, Dr. Doug Groteis. We've met him. He's been here for an underground. And this is what he says about this book. He says, "This book is kind, but it is a kind but firm corrective to the nice-sounding lies so often peddled today. We are told to find our own truth, to put ourselves first, to trust ourselves. Elisa Childers charts a better way through her story, cultural examples, humor, and most importantly, biblical truth." So, if you want to get a jump start on Contend and you want to be able to engage with culture more discerningly, this could be a good book for you. So, Live Your Truth and Other Lies by Elisa Childers. That's my recommendation.
Can't go wrong. What was the publication date on that?
This was maybe 2 years ago. Let me double check here. It is 2022. 2 years ago, 2022. There you go. Boom.
All right. There you have it. Two good choices, Noah.
That's all I got.
Those are two good choices. And as Pastor Bob did say, I did used to play football, and that did in fact put Pastor Dave's football book at a potential advantage. But unfortunately for Pastor Dave, he didn't realize that this football player is actually a New York Giants fan.
Oh!
And that means that Pastor Bob takes the win today.
Yes!
And Elisa
4-4.
Childers, Live Your Truth, is the winner.
4-4. Sorry, Tom.
Wait, Tom was a New York Giant. I don't understand. How did that count against him?
He coached the Cowboys.
As soon as he signed up with the Cowboys, he
was a traitor.
Yeah.
Traitor.
That's right.
Traitor to his own people. There you go.
All right, fine.
All right,
I'm
so
not
I'll
letting
take
you
the win.
touch
We're
my
tied.
football,
We're
Noah.
tied.
You're not
We're
allowed.
tied. We'll see what happens when Tim comes back next week. So there you go. So that's the book war for Dee. So we got a chart. We got a book war. Now let's talk a little bit about your sermon, Pastor
Tied
Dave.
up, man.
So we have been journeying through Revelation. We've been slogging through certain sections, if I could say that. We had judgments, we had locusts, we had bowls, we had dragons and monsters. Oh my! And we've come to the end. Jesus came back, and this week Pastor Dave brought us into the new heavens and the new earth, some of my favorite passages in all of the Bible. And you walked us through that. So, Pastor Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit about your sermon? And are we approaching the new heavens and the new earth?
60-second overview?
As close as you can come.
Okay, so we're, in my opinion, let me just put it this way. This is the climax of the book of Revelation. And I didn't realize there was different views on chapter 21 and 22 amongst Orthodox Christians. I thought that everybody catapulted this section into the distant future when the world is made new. What I discovered is that not everyone thinks that. Some people think that this section actually has an already not yet component to it, that right now Christ is making all things new, and that will continue on into the future when the ultimate new creation is complete. So there's a way in which you can read this text and say, these things are starting in the new covenant. There is a new order. Christ is wiping away our tears. Christ is conquering death right now. And this New Jerusalem, this city, is the bride of Christ, currently the church built on top of the apostles, and this is who we are. The old Jerusalem is gone, the new Jerusalem has come, and this is a poetic, apocalyptic image for the new covenant community, the church. Personally, I struggle with that, although I see a lot of truth to it. There's too many things about this passage that just go far into the future, with especially the statement, death shall be no more. And then there's all of these images about we will see his face, the dwelling places with God, and there's a garden and a tree of life, and all of these hopeful realities from all of the Bible sort of come together in this place. So I tend to see this as in the distant future, our hope where there will be no more crying, no more pain, no more suffering, no more death, and this is where we're headed. And it's a wonderful climax to the entire biblical narrative. And I tend to see this as future-oriented, although I don't want to dismiss those scholars who see some of this being fulfilled right now. So that was kind of new to me and a good study.
But they all tend to say there is, even if they think there's an already not yet, there is a not yet. Or does anybody say there's not a not yet?
Not Orthodox Christian scholars. There are full preterists who say this is all fulfilled poetically, apocalyptically. I don't think that that's a good exegesis of this text. I think the solid scholars are all saying this is our yet to come promised hope in the future. So, yeah.
But would they say, where do we go in the future? Or they would look at other passages that talk about what is yet to come?
Yeah, the full preterists would say that has not been revealed. There is no more prophetic scriptures in the Bible that are yet unfulfilled, and we don't know what's next. So that's what's problematic about that view. They essentially deny the second coming.
The bodily return of Christ.
Yeah, and that's a problem. So Gary DeMar and there's others that are venturing into full preterism, which I think is a dangerous set of doctrines. But I think Orthodox Christianity sees this as our future hope, the fulfillment of all of the prophets, and everything is good. But there is a struggle with that view because it seems like unbelievers somehow still exist. Like it looks like it says outside are the dogs, outside are the sorcerers, outside are those who are...
at the end of chapter 22.
So that can't be true in the new creation. There can't be people on the outside, at least people that are still living. So those types of verses make people think this is a picture of the church, and of course outside the church are those who are evildoers and not following Christ. So this is still talking about the present reality. So they struggle with those verses, although I think you can get around them and just say, of course they're outside. They've been cast into outer darkness. They don't make it into the eternal kingdom. So anyway,
interesting.
Probably more.
So that's kind of the nerdy, like in the weeds stuff about this. But the passage itself, I was intrigued by your outline. So you talked about the new creation, the new Jerusalem, and the return to the garden. And I like the parallels you made there, where the key points were this passage is teaching us about our future, our identity, and our home. I thought maybe you could talk a little bit about those themes and how you tried to weave those in and how that might be helpful to us.
Yeah, so part one, our wonderful hope, our new creation hope, rooted in the prophecies of Isaiah 65, that there's going to be a new heaven, a new earth, and that will be a place where all suffering is banished forever. C.S. Lewis used to say, and everything sad will become untrue, right? So that's a beautiful passage about our future hope with no suffering. The second part about the New Jerusalem is this beautiful picture, I think more describing the features of the bride of Christ more so than describing the place of heaven. So these images, the things that we tend to think about in terms of heaven, like pearly gates and streets of gold and those kinds of things, those are probably apocalyptic images to describe the church and the New Jerusalem. They're probably not images to describe a physical location, but this is who we are as the bride. And so this is how we're described. The third section is a return back to the garden. The tree of life is there. There's a stream of living water. Those who are thirsty are invited to come. And man is now renewed again in God's original plan, and we are dwelling with the presence of God in the cool of the day. Once again, it's like the Garden of Eden, but it's a better version of the Garden of Eden because we've been through the entire redemption restoration process, and it's a wonderful hope that we have.
Yeah.
So those are the three sections. I don't know.
Yeah, and you I forget if it was in the new creation section. You had some really poignant illustrations that come right from the text, and you at one point you told us to pause and just imagine a world with no tears, no cancer, no no drones, no, so many other things. And I thought that was a really powerful moment because those are very real things for people that they're struggling with. So I don't know if you got any feedback on that, but that was really good part of the message.
Yeah, I mean, if we sit down and we think about everything that we have to go through and all the pain in our lives, there's many things that we would like to say goodbye to for the final time. And one day we will, and we're looking forward to that. So I think it's helpful to dream and just imagine what life will be like with no more suffering, no more tears, no more drones that are nefarious. There could be drones that are good drones that are like
helpful drones.
Things that bring you French fries and stuff. Maybe those drones would be okay. But bad drones. No more bad drones.
No more bad drones.
So,
get out of here. You had two interesting sections in there. So number one, you made the statement about death, and you kind of were, I think, exhorting us to say that when people die, sometimes we act like it's we're going to celebrate death because they have a home going to heaven, and there is truth in that. But you also made the statement to say death is not a good thing. Like death is not how it should be. And I wonder if maybe you can say a bit more about that in helping us think through how we approach death when it does come, whether for us or for those that we love.
I think Christians mean well, and probably pastors have taught us to think about death as if it's this wonderful doorway, threshold into the presence of God, and it brings us a lot of comfort that to be absent with the body is present, to be present with the Lord.
Yeah.
To depart and be with Christ is far better. There are scriptures that speak about the hope of heaven. I don't want to downplay that, but that's not ultimately what we were created for. There are people in Revelation who followed God, who die and go to heaven, who are actually praying for God to bring about justice, right? The souls that have been beheaded. They're saying, how long, O Lord, until you avenge us? So I think our ultimate hope is when all of that justice has already come and God resurrects our bodies to live on the new heavens and the new earth. That's really our ultimate hope, or as N.T. Wright says, it's not life after death, it's life after death. This is the great story. We love stories, whether that's The Lord of the Rings or Narnia or Marvel or any kind of story. It's a Wonderful Life. I always like to watch that story once a year, this time of year. This is the greatest story ever told. This is the story of the Son of God who's come to redeem and restore this world, and this brings it to its climax, its culmination, and it's a beautiful story. It's the story that all the other stories are really hinting at and pointing to that are good stories.
Yeah.
But the difference is it's true.
Yeah.
And so it's a wonderful hope. It's a little sliver of hope that keeps us going in life.
Yeah. Well, the other fun part about if there was a fun part about the message, you talked about do all dogs go to heaven? Talked about pets joining us in heaven, which is usually a debate that's happens with kids, but I thought that was a fun part of the message. And you came down and said that, you know what, if it's good for us, maybe we'll meet our pets up in the new heavens and new earth.
Yeah, I was reading this book, Fathers on the Future, by Dr. Spiegel, and he had this quote in there, and I thought, a lot of people ask me about this because we have these relationships with these animals. We forge these bonds, and then they go away when they die. What will happen? And we're now in the realm of speculation. We're now in the realm of the Bible.
This is not a salvation issue.
No, the Bible does not speak to this clearly. But yet, Dr. Spiegel said, although there's no real biblical theological grounding for this, there could be a scenario where we are delegated authority from God to be able to allow those beloved animals to come back to life in the future. Now, this is not a crazy view. There are similar statements that are made by many respected Christian leaders and scholars. So Billy Graham said something like this would be true. There's an entire section in Randy Alcorn's book about heaven that describes this as true and why it's true. Johnny Erickson Tada has made a statement about this being true. David Jeremiah has talked about this being true. We know that there's animals in the future kingdom, and we know that the God who loves us will not withhold anything that's good from us. So, the speculation is, will we be able to have a reunion with those pets that we have bonded with? I kind of lean toward this is a real possibility. Wouldn't this be a nice surprise that God would have for us in the future? Wouldn't that be just like our loving God to surprise us like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you have a beloved animal growing up? Did you have a
I did have
dog or
one
a
dog
cat or anything?
Yep, we had a dog growing up, and
Was that kind of hard when that dog eventually?
Yeah. It was. I think it was harder for my sister than for me. But it was that particular dog had emotional resonance because my father purchased the dog shortly before he passed away, so it was kind of like a connection with my dad. The dog lived about 10 years, and he was part of the family as we were growing up. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll see him again.
Could be. I did want to talk about something else that's not something I had time for in the sermon at all. So there's this prediction of a new heavens and new earth, and people often ask, is this the same heavens and earth that we're currently residing on, or is this an entirely new planet with a new star that we're given later? And
That's a great question.
there's some confusion about that, and I don't totally know the answer, but I lean towards the idea that this place will not totally be destroyed, but it will be renovated. It will be refined through a kind of
Upgraded,
a fire,
if you will.
Yeah. So I'll read you a quote from Methodius of Olympus, who was an early church father, who says, "It is not satisfactory to say that the universe will be utterly destroyed, and sea and air and sky will be no longer. For the whole world will be deluged with fire from heaven, and burnt for the purpose of purification and renewal. It will not, however, come to complete ruin and corruption. God therefore ordered the creation with a view to its existence and continuance." So this author, and I think many other authors, speak in terms of a renovation, kind of like in the imagery of metallurgy or purification, where you remove the impurities from metal, and somehow this earth will go through a refining process. And you know how the resurrected body will have some resemblance to the current physical body? Like, Jesus was raised from the dead, but they still recognized him as Jesus because there was some one-for-one corresponding resemblance. In that way, people say, just like that, the earth will also have some one-to-one corresponding resemblance when it is restored to its future state. And so I tend to lean towards that view. I don't tend to think that this will be a complete collapse of our current planetary system and there'll be some new... I tend to think this is the place with an identifiable counterpart. The old cosmos will be related to the new cosmos without totally losing its identity altogether.
Yeah.
That's my view.
That's good. I think the passage that people often will look at is the second Peter 3 passage, where it talks about how the day of the Lord will come like a thief, and then the heavens will pass away with a roar, and the heavenly bodies will be burned up and dissolved, and the earth and the works that are done on it will be exposed. And since all these things are thus dissolved, what sort of life should we live? Da-da-da-da. And he goes, because of which the heavens will be set on fire and dissolved, and the heavenly bodies will melt as they burn. So I guess the question there is, like, what's going on with the fire? And, is he speaking in literal or kind of figurative language here? But that's a great question. I think good addressing of that. I tend to think that way too. I think there's a renovation. That's sort of the way that C.S. Lewis depicts it at the end of The Last Battle that you were quoting from at the end of your message. I think that was a good pictorial example of what might happen.
One
A
other
renewal,
thing.
so to speak.
One other thing. So this whole New Jerusalem thing, there is obvious resemblance in the New Jerusalem depiction with the temple.
Cube. Right.
It's a cube. It's a perfect cube. There's only one other cube, which is the Holy of Holies. You'll recall that the imagery in the temple is designed to look like the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tree-like lampstand in there, and then there is cherubim and angelic beings, and we remember them from the Garden of Eden. We remember on the priest's breastplate there was these beautiful stones that the priest would bring into the temple with him. Eden and the temple had a lot of the same types of images. So the temple was made really to look like Eden, and it was like a return back to Eden. The temple was a return back to the presence of God, and it was a return back to the garden. And that was a copy of things that God had given that were heavenly. And so there was decorations of palm trees and pomegranates, and it was the inside of that tabernacle or temple was designed in such a way to look like a garden. And so when you get to Revelation 21 and 22, there's imagery there that's familiar. And these are, it's a city, but the city, Greg Beale says, it's a city that's garden-like. So it's got city-like features, but it's also got garden-like features. And it's a return back to Eden in that way. So I don't want to miss the imagery there of what's going on in the New Jerusalem and how much temple imagery is there. It's a cube. It's got the stones. It's got the streets of gold. And remember, the temple was layered with gold. And I think it's designed to look like the temple. If it looks like a temple, if it smells like a temple, it is a temple.
Bringing us back to the presence of God, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think what Beale does, correct me if I'm wrong, from what I remember, is he would actually make the argument that the garden was the first temple.
He does.
And then the loss of the presence of God, we're wandering around, and then you have the tabernacle that comes up, so that's housing the presence of God, which eventually moves into the temple, the first temple, the second temple.
Right.
And then, of course, at Jesus' death, the veil of the Holy of Holies is broken, and now the temple is us. We are the temple of the Holy Spirit, the church, which eventually culminates within the new heavens and the new earth in this image you're talking about.
Okay, so it culminates there, but you would also agree, based on what you just said, that part of that is true now.
Is that it's because it resolves in us, it's expanding. And
it's expanding.
So much of the things are expanding.
Yeah. But it's not untrue to say that we are a temple today. This is what the New Testament basically says that we're going on. So,
right.
And this leads me back to that contrast. So the same exact language to describe the prostitute is used to describe the bride. So chapter 17, come, let me show you the prostitute. Chapter 21, come, let me show you the bride. One is Babylon, one is the New Jerusalem. Same angel is doing this. One of the seven angels who had one of the seven bowls is doing this.
Right.
For the prostitute, he takes him into the wilderness. Here, he takes him up to a high mountain. And the words are parallel for a reason, for us to see, here's two different cities, here's two different identities, here's two different women. Which woman are you a part of? To which woman do you belong? And I think in that sense, we identify most with the New Jerusalem because we are her. We are the bride of Christ. This is who we're called to be now, and then ultimately in our perfection, this is who we will be one day. So,
yeah, that's good. That's good. So, which is also why people argue a little bit about the millennium. Is this a separate thing? And the temple language, because some people think there's going to be this other temple built in the millennium, but the temple language really kind of shows up here in what looks like the new heavens and new earth.
Right.
You know.
And so the people who insist on that this is the temple have to do the whole recapitulation thing. Oh, okay, yeah, there's the new heavens and new earth now. 21:9 and following that describes the new temple, that gets recapitulated back into the 1,000 years. So that's one way to do it, but
is it the most natural way to do it?
Is it the most natural way to do it? That's yet to be seen.
All right. Well, good. Good inspiring message. Thanks so much for doing that. We're going to finish Revelation this coming week.
That's it.
We have made our way through. Thank you for it. And I know Revelation is not an easy book, which is why a lot of people kind of shy away from. They like doing the first couple chapters, kind of like Daniel, right? And but then we don't do the second half. We did the whole thing, and hopefully you can appreciate how complicated it is, and how there's a lot of deep, great truths there. But you definitely need to kind of come in with understanding your interpretive lenses in what you're bringing out. But we're gonna cap it off this week, kind of finishing off Advent, getting us into Christmas, and then in the new year we're going to be talking about revival. But before we get there, we're gonna be praying, "Come, Lord Jesus," and that's kind of the theme here at the end of chapter 22 in the epilogue. But that's what we're talking about this week.
For those of you wondering if there are more verses in chapter 22, yes, there are.
There are.
And we will cover them.
And Noah will be doing a wonderful recap video, so you'll get to see, if you didn't see the series, you'll see everything we talked about in about 4 minutes. So you have to go back and watch any of the messages. All right, so that's the end of the sermon. Noah, do you have a sprint for us today, or should we just jump into to the announcements?
There is a sprint. And
Okay.
today's sprint is actually inspired by our second news story, which was the story about the drones.
Oh my goodness! All right,
One of
let's see what we got
one
here.
of the theories that people are
Drones do not have souls.
one of the theories that people are throwing around is that those drones are actually UFOs from aliens. So today's Theology Sprint question is it possible for aliens to exist within a biblical Christian worldview?
Yeah, I mean, I think as I had sort of alluded to the other week, I like the take that Dr. Hugh Ross has, that I think that there is a spiritual component to that. I mean, he makes the argument that all these UFOs we've seen are some sort of interdimensional spiritual beings that could be demonic, or I guess they could be angelic, but I think he's talking more about the demonic realm of them. And so I think if I'm looking at it from that type of spiritual framework, that seems to fit in with what the Bible says about those spiritual beings. As far as there being interplanetary species, I don't know about that. I'm much more skeptical in terms of there being intelligent life beyond our planet in other parts of the solar system, although I can't get inside the mind of God, although I don't see that type of thing being put out within the Bible itself. That would be in the realm of speculation.
That's really an interesting question. How would that impact our biblical anthropology? How would these creatures be different? Would there be a similarity? Is it possible that another life form somewhere else could actually possess the image of God too? And how would that affect our hamartiology? Are they possibly sinful beings out there too, or are they perfect beings? There's an entire C.S. Lewis space trilogy about another world that didn't experience a rebellion. They did not have a fall. So then, therefore, they did not need the coming of the incarnate Son of God. There was no need for Christmas or for Easter there because there was no fall. And so that's a really interesting thought experiment to consider. How would this impact our soteriology, and would it be possible for such a being, if they were to rebel, to be redeemed? And it's really takes you down a few rabbit trails thinking, what ifs, a bunch of what ifs. So I don't know, man. The jury's out with me. I'm not real helpful.
That's my point. As we're getting into this, it is speculation, though. It's not.
Weird.
It's not clearly.
Are we in the outer rim of
I
the
think
chart?
this is the outer rim. It's not clearly put out within the
unintended.
Bible itself. Yeah,
Yeah.
the outer. Yeah, the Star Wars outer rim. So there you go. I guess that's the best we can do.
Very good. Very good. I liked it.
See what you can do with that.
So body life. We
Body
got a lot
life.
going on in
We
the
do.
life of our church to highlight.
Well, maybe the first thing we should mention is that Christmas Eve is coming up. So we have one more Sunday in Advent, and then Christmas Eve is a week from
Tuesday.
tomorrow, right? Yeah, next Tuesday is Christmas Eve. We have two services, one at 4, one at 5:30. Both will be identical, and lots of candles will be lit. So make sure you come out. And
It will be lit.
Hear the gospel. It's going to be a lit Christmas Eve service. So there you go. 4 and 5:30 next Tuesday, December the 24th, and we hope to see you there. What's that?
One of the things that we highlighted this past weekend was our upcoming winter women's Bible studies, and there's a lot of those. So they're going to be studying the book of Ephesians. coming in January, Carrie Fulmar. And so hope you'll register, and I hope that you'll sign up and take advantage of some of these fellowship opportunities and Bible studies for women. There's also a Wednesday night study on the Gospel of Mark using the Precept study tool. That's going to be great. Hey, if you have a teenager that goes to the rush, this will be a great chance for you to just jump into a Bible study and make the most of that time while your whole family can come out on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Very cool.
And then there is also a senior lunch this Friday. So we want you to make sure that you attend the senior lunch. If you're a senior, be there. There's going to be a great Christmas program this Friday at noon. Hope that you can make it.
Yeah.
Couple
Good.
other things, Noah. You want to throw some more graphics out there? Bob,
Well,
what's
Content
this,
Conference,
Bob?
you've been hearing about this for months. For those of you that have been paying attention, this probably feels redundant, but we never assume that people are paying attention. This is going to be a wonderful weekend of encouragement, of challenge, and coming together. So we got some great speakers. Content Conference, the last weekend in January 31st to February 2nd. Now, this is the call. We are only a couple weeks away from the price going up, so make sure you go and sign up by December 31st if you want the early bird rate. Go and sign up. If you want to volunteer, I think we have a few spots left for that. We do have spots left for the conference, and you don't want to miss out on the early bird rate. So go sign up for that this week.
Coming
today,
up.
right now. Stop this recording and go sign up.
Very good.
And then also, starting in January, for one of our adult ed offerings is going to be the deconstruction of Christianity. Man, Noah, that is a wonderfully colorful graphic right there. Noah did a great job with it. You would sign up just because of that graphic, wouldn't you, Pastor Dave?
I'm ready. It's going to be a great class.
So the whole idea of deconstruction is a popular term now for people that are questioning their faith. In a lot of ways, and this is a book by Elisa Childers, who's one of the main speakers at the conference. So it's a video-based curriculum, and then myself and Delia and Stan Kang will be facilitating discussion based on the topics in the study. So we certainly would invite you to come out for that. It's about 6 weeks. It's not a super long commitment, and we think you'll find a lot of benefit from that study. So that's going to be starting January 5th over in the Great Room, Sundays at 9 a.m.
Very good. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been a good show.
I think we're there.
Bob and I are going to go throw the pigskin.
I think you need to put some more air in there.
Yeah.
And don't lose
Sits on my
Tom
shelf.
Landry's his sign. He signed the ball, right?
I deflated him like Tom Brady. You know, deflate gate. It makes it easier
Right,
to
did I
catch.
say Tom Brady? I meant Tom Landry. There you go. Deflate. All right.
Thanks for watching, guys.
With that, have a great week. We'll see you next week.